Welcome to Milk Honey Rose. Thank you for being here. I am Mystic Alchemy. All right, and so I'm seeing here that someone they want to ask you, how did you make them fall for you so fast? But I don't feel like you made them do it like you were doing it purposely. It's just that they fell for you fast. They're not used to falling for someone so quickly. From what I'm seeing, you helped them to recognize what was really going on in their own life because they didn't see it. You know, we could walk through life thinking that everything is fine because we're so used to behaving a certain way. And sometimes until someone brings something to your attention that's actually not good for you, then you recognize it. Because many times we're being like, we could be in a really messed up situation and think that it's okay, because there are times when many justify a situation trying to make it seem like it's okay when it's really not, when they know they don't really feel right. However, it's just easier to kind of just deal with it and keep going. It's almost like putting a band-aid over a bad wound, like just trying to cover it up as if it's not really bothering the soul. However, this person's soul was very bothered. You helped them to realize that there's some things that they need to do within themselves, so they started planning for themselves. They started working on themselves. And I feel like they started to commune with their spirit team. They might not know they have a spirit team. They may have just been talking to God, really connecting to the God within them, their higher self, and recognizing how much they actually do deserve as opposed to what they were receiving. It feels like someone that was holding back from taking action in a direction they know they should have gone in. I feel like you told someone that they were with someone that had like hate in their heart. They had like a cold heart. Their heart was never warm. Their heart was never golden, whoever they were with. I heard pretty on the outside and ugly on the inside. So they may have been with someone that they were attracted to, but there was no magic within them. So this person is realizing that they need to tap into their own magic, because that would help them to recognize who they're really with. This person didn't recognize that they were sleeping with the enemy. And they was thinking that they were doing a good thing by being with this person. And you were telling them like, no, that person is not good for you. Then they started holding back from whoever this is that's not good for them, because they didn't realize how abusive the relationship was. That's what it feels like. It feels like emotional abuse. Somebody was being like emotionally abused and they were being given very little. However, this person tried to come into their life acting like they were something that they was not. Let me see, who is this person? This is someone that you could have ended a relationship with. It didn't necessarily have to be on horrible terms. It could have been just something that could have just started and it really didn't get to a place. Or this could be a friend that you were talking to about somebody that they were with, possibly. Or it could be anybody, but it's just the simple fact that you told somebody, you gave someone like your perspective of what a healthy relationship is, and every point that you hit, they were not experiencing the bliss that you expressed when you talked about what you feel a relationship should be. Then the more you spoke, the more they recognized that they were sleeping with the enemy, and the more sad they got. They were sad because they realized that they weren't paying attention. They weren't paying attention, and they kept juggling their own feelings. They were not taking themselves seriously. And they didn't consult with the God within them. And that's why they ended up I heard I heard partying in the den of demons. Okay? So you help this person see the truth about what love really is supposed to be or meant to be in a relationship. And they also have recognized that they haven't really been loving on themselves. So that made them feel 10 times worse because they feel like they really threw a lot of time away. There's so much time that they dedicated to these types of individuals that they don't have a good heart. They don't have good intentions. And I feel like they just didn't know. They didn't realize it. They didn't know. I don't think they did it on purpose or anything. They just didn't know. So now they're more so focusing on the types of relationships that they allow into their life. They're being more proactive when it comes to their selections, like their choices, like how they choose who they want to be with. They're not going to be so frivolous, I heard, this time around, because you help them to make better decisions in their own life. They just didn't know. They didn't even realize it. And it was hard for them to discern when someone was not being real with them. I feel like this person is very giving. It feels like this person is like a very giving person. You were telling them like that person is not good for you. You don't see how they act when you do this and when you do that. And it's like, you know what? I kind of saw it, but I was ignoring it. I feel like someone was ignoring the signs. They were ignoring the red flags because they want someone to give to, but they were giving to someone who doesn't appreciate it. And that's what really got them feeling down about themselves, because they feel like they should have known better. However, you did help them to see, so they stopped taking the same action that they would take towards this person because of something that you said. They put it into it, because this person that they were with, or this could have been multiple situations where they just end up with the same spirit in a different vessel. So they recognize that it's them letting this energy back in. They realize it's them. So they've chosen to justify their wrongs and be true to themselves and like just take the loss. And instead of looking at it like a loss, look at it as a lesson. So if you just break it down some, you taught them a lesson about their actions in relationships by you just talking about relationships, and they resonated with what you were saying. This is why it's so important for individuals to have healthy conversations with one another, because you don't always have to agree. Don't get me wrong, because maybe someone will say something that you don't agree with. Maybe that's just their style of living. However, it's not like that for everything that they say. Sometimes when you hear someone and you're discussing a topic with someone, it's good to take what works for you, and whatever else doesn't work for you, leave it. There's just power in communication, because someone can have a different perspective of a thing that you never even considered. And then you recognize as you listen how much it can help you in your own life. That is very powerful. And that's how we influence each other in the best way. Because you could hear someone's story and be like, oh, I probably wouldn't have did that, but I like the other thing you said. I would do that. And that's just having discernment, knowing yourself, and still feeling comfortable speaking to someone with a different perspective without like getting angry at them or being so harsh to disagree, when that's people are entitled to their own opinion, right? And I just feel like this person, in this case, they really resonated with everything you said. I don't really feel like there was anything that they didn't align with, because it's like in the younger years before you learn about things in a relationship, you don't really know what's going on. You just know you don't feel right. And the more you align yourself with your feelings and pay attention to what made you feel like that specifically, it helps you to recognize what happened and how to move next time around. And all of those times when this person wasn't feeling right, it's like everything you said, you were answering all of the questions that they asked themselves or felt inside that they may not have been able to articulate themselves, because when you're in it, you don't you can't, it's hard. It's like really hard, especially if you are one to be in relationships that just keep going wrong, but you don't see exactly what it is, and it's hard for you to see because it's just convoluted with a lot of energy, so you don't really know what you're looking at. So you were able to answer all of this person's unanswered questions in their relationship without them asking. So really, God used you as a messenger. God used you as an earth angel. And you probably didn't even know what you did unless they told you. However, in this message, they want to tell you, in which you'll know who this person is because it's a bit specific. They want to tell you that they're so thankful for you and you answered questions that they have and questions that they actually needed answers to that they weren't able to articulate to ask. So clearly you have a divine connection because you were able to speak to this person fluid from the frequency of God's voice. And you didn't even know that you were being used, and that's how God works. God works like that, and that is so beautiful. Just think about that. You don't even know that you were just being used to save a fellow soul. That's so wonderful, to help, because the majority of the problems are people being misused and mistreated, and then they're not feeling right. They frequency all confused and distorted, a lot of static, and then they can't function as they're meant to on this realm or in this realm. Because when you're distorted, your energy is all shifty and you don't feel right. It's hard for you to tap into the ethereal realm so you can get those collective messages that are just floating around in the ethers waiting for somebody to decode it, right? So you remove some static and there was a clear signal. You know how when you're driving and you're driving from one state to another or one demographic area to another, and the radio station begins to change because you're no longer in the same place, and that radio station is not at that location that you just drove into. There's static right there before you change. It's almost like going in a portal. I can kind of think of it that way, and I'm sure you understand what I mean. It's like going into a portal and everything changes because then another radio station comes on that you never heard before playing some totally different type of music, or that station doesn't exist at all in that area and you'll just hear static. So when someone has static in their life, they can't receive the messages from God. That's why a lot of people say, I don't hear God talk to me. I don't get no communication at all ever. It's because they're not taking the time out to cultivate that relationship. But the more you cultivate the relationship, you spend time with yourself, you hear yourself, because within yourself is where you hear God. Okay? Because God is within us. So this is what you did for this person. You helped them to tap into their inner God. They just needed to know a little bit of something that they didn't, and you answered it without even knowing. It's a very beautiful message because many of us do this and we don't even know, because sometimes the person that you help, they never tell you. They never tell you the impact that you made. However, by you just being willing to speak, you changing lives, and you don't even know. A lot of times you don't know. That's why it's so good to just be yourself, because you being yourself, like authentically, that's why it's so healing, because we could do things like that without our knowledge and still make an impact on somebody's life. Because when you make a positive impact on somebody's life, it's very likely that they will do the same for someone else. It's like a chain reaction. Okay, so that is it for this message. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And thank you for all of those who are liking, sharing, and subscribing. I appreciate you, darlings. Everything you do, do it with love. I'll see you in the next one.